Hey book friends, today we are going to talk about 3 series I have finished in 2024. Let's find out which one was my favorite. I have the Shatter Me series, the Broken Heart series, and the Shadow Falls series. So without further ado, let's do this. First one I'm going to talk about is the Shatter Me series, everyone. I started this in 2023 and I finished this off in 2024. And let me say, it was interesting. So we are dealing with a girl named Juliet, and she is locked in a room and just in a cell, in a sense, with barely any food and a bed. And she doesn't know what day it is, how long she's been in there. She just knows she's been locked up. She thinks she's a danger to a lot of people, so that's why she's in there. And then it talks about her past later on. And then all of a sudden, a guy comes in and he has to share the cell with her. And she is terrified that if she touches him, he's going to die. Because in her past, they talk about it, why she is that way, that she does have some kind of powers and she doesn't know how to control them. These books are kind of go into like each one. The first one is about her and kind of getting out and kind of seeing the world for what it is, and they want her to escape, so they're trying to help her escape this cell and to kind of get her out of the wrong hands, so to speak. And then she ends up kind of deciding like what's best for her as she grows as a person into this new world. She meets friends along the way. There is a relationship drama in this, and she's just trying to figure herself out along with everything that's going on. She was going to be used as a weapon, but then I feel like if you finish the series, if you want to fast forward and like not want to hear spoilers, go ahead. But I feel like she kind of was both sides, good and bad, if you want to play that role. Both sides were wanting to use her as a weapon. Just depends on which side you want to think is good. Warner and that side, Warner and Warner's dad, like they want to rebuild the world and kind of like destroy the old one and rebuild a new one. And then the other people are trying to just make sure people survive and to save people. So that's kind of the gist of it. And Juliet's kind of just in the middle of this as a weapon because of her powers. And other people along the way have powers too. So all in all, I just want to say this was a very easy read. It was very quick. It really had great hooks, like hooked you in. You really wanted to know, does she get out? Why does she get out? Who are these people that are helping her get out? Why? What's the motive? Love affair, kind of a relationship, instant, if you're into that, and then not. So there's just a lot of mixed things as she grows into herself and learning who's good and who's wrong, and for her to grow and decide that for herself. So I kind of want to say this really reminds me of the X-Men. So if you're like me, who grew up watching the X-Men cartoons, I was a big fan of Rogue and Gambit, and Rogue had kind of the similar powers. She had to wear gloves, otherwise if she touched somebody, they would die or pass out. And she could fly. And she was really strong. So I kind of feel like Hunger Games meets X-Men kind of a thing with the Shatter Me series. Also, the writing in this book, like Juliet's thoughts, they're kind of crossed out, and sometimes that kind of bugs people. So if you pull up the first book, let me show you. So her thoughts are kind of like crossed out in some way. So like this, right? If that doesn't bother you, sometimes people kind of can get put off with that, but it didn't bother me, so I was okay reading it. I thought it was kind of unique for the book. And this series is by Tara Maffey. But this is the series I did finish first. And let's just say it was not my favorite out of the three I've read. This is probably the least of my favorite of the three I read. I feel like it really reminded me of the X-Men for sure. But it was fun to read. I also feel like it should have just been 3 books. I don't think it should have dragged on that much, and I did not read any of the novellas. I needed a break from this character. She's okay. Like I kind of like I really liked her, but after like the 3rd book, I'm like, why is this keep on going on with the same like stuff that's happening? In my opinion, personally, I feel like this could have just been 3 books and it didn't need to drag on. So if you want to read it, if it sounds like something you really want to try and invest your time into, go for it. It's really fast, really quick. But some people just kind of like after the 1st book, I've noticed my research that a lot of people kind of like not for me, or yes, I'm totally love it. So it's either or, and I kind of was like, it was okay. It just, yeah, X-Men. I have to keep on saying it. It really does remind me of the X-Men. So I want to know what other people thought when they read it, what they think, and your perspective on Juliet and the people in it. I will say my favorite character out of all of them was Kenji, but he was my favorite. He was funny. He kept it alive when I needed it to like have it pick me up while I was reading it, because some of this could be heavy. He kind of made it lighter, like a lighter sense of a lot of things. But he was my favorite character in the Shatter Me series. Let me know who your favorite character was in this series, and let me know what you think about the Shatter Me series if you have read it. And let's continue on. The second series that I finished was the Broken Heart series. Let's get into the Broken Heart series. If you read the Caraval series, then you know to read this series. Either one is fine. You don't have to read the Caraval to read Broken Heart, but it would be nice to backtrack as it does talk about Jack, the fate in the Caraval series, and then it's more in depth of him in these books. If you're like me and you're a big fan of hers, let's talk about this series. First book, The Broken Heart, awesome cover. It starts off with Evangeline, and she wants to marry somebody, and she ends up stepping in a way. Somehow she finds a fate, and she tries to make a deal with this fate. And we know that is never good to do that. She tries, and she really wants to marry the person her sister is marrying, and that he's supposed to be hers. And she doesn't know why he's choosing her. And she meets this fate. He helps her under conditions, of course. He tells her, you have to do certain things for me first before I help you. So she strikes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, which is Jack. He basically wants her to kiss a certain prince first, and then there's other deals along the way as you read. I don't want to put any spoilers on it, but the first one does set up the scene of how she meets the broken heart fate and what he asks her to do, and goes from there. And as you continue reading the second book, and then the second book, they partner up even though Jack has betrayed her. So this is a spoiler, but I'm literally just reading off of what it says here. So I'm not trying to like spoil anything going forward. But this is a magical book. Stephanie Gerber really puts me back into like the princess world of magical fairyland. Just the writing, the way she has with words on a page, it makes it feel like you're just sucked into a whole new world, a brand new world full of people, and you just want to be a person or like a fly on the wall with these characters. Everything that Evangeline goes through, I feel so bad for her, but I also kind of feel like she was kind of naive. I don't know if that's how a lot of people kind of feel, but there's some things that happen with her and her family, her sister, the prince that she ends up with. There's so many things that happens to her that I kind of feel like, are we really that naive? Is she like, that was the only downfall of this series. And I will say the third book could have not even happened. I feel like it was just an extra book. I did like it, but I feel like it dragged on as well. I feel like this could have been a 2-book series, or they could have added more with Jack and Evangeline and the story behind that, as it grows and as they grow together in battling. Yeah, as they grow in these books, I feel like it could have added more and then made the third book a little bit more interesting than what it was. So let me know what you think, your opinion on the series. It was really good. I'm not like really good. But the third book was kind of like, I don't want to say a letdown. I just feel like it could have been more, if that makes sense. All right. The third series, I don't know if anyone's really heard of this series. This has been on my shelf for a very long time. We're going to talk about the Shadowfall series. Here is the Shadowfall series, everyone. And I don't know if anyone else has read this. This is pretty old. By C.C. Hunter, Shadowfall series, first one, Born at Midnight, I believe. And this is following a girl named Kylie. She's around 17 years old. And it starts off with her being with her parents at home. And then as the story progresses, the first book, it starts kind of talking about a divorce with her parents. Her kind of not, kind of like going through the divorce and stuff. Her mom thought she should go to a camp for the summer. And for like I don't want to say bad teens, but it's kind of like that for like teens like that. And she's sitting on this bus on her way to this camp, looking at all these people, thinking like, who are these people? Like, they don't look normal. Like, their hair colors are changing. They're like punk rockish. And some other people, something's off, basically, according to Kylie, because they start looking at her weird, and she doesn't know why. There's a variety of kids on this bus, and it's for supposedly troubled teens, right? But there's more to it than that. And as we grow with Kylie, she starts learning that she is Fae. So this is a Fae series, and it talks about all the kids with different things. There's vampires, witches, shapeshifters, and I was pretty surprised. I didn't know much about these books, but it's mainly about Kylie, and it talks, and we grow with her about her friends that she makes along the way. There are relationship stuff going on in these series at all as well, and you can get frustrated with her. But I will say, we have to remind ourselves, she is only 17. I will say this book is great for, I feel like, a teen who wants to get into the fantasy fae kind of world and kind of just starting out with something. I highly recommend this. I think this is a great starting point for young people, young adults, to read, to kind of learn about the fae world, the fantasy kind of like it's gentle with it, but there's a lot of action. So it helps kind of transition into that type of world. If for people who we already are, I kind of feel like this is a great beginning for new readers. So I will say this series was pretty good. I was patient with her because I had to remind myself that she was only 17 and she's trying to discover new things about her. The only thing I didn't like is it was really slow and it took like until the third book to figure out who she really was, what she really was. That was my only kind of problem I had with it. But honestly, I actually really like the series. I thought it was really good. I feel like if you want to try something that has fantasy and fae in it with action, with vampires, witches, shapeshifters, and many, many more, friendships along the way, and relationship drama as well. And I just recommend this then. There's a lot to impact with her, and I actually really liked Kylie's character. I feel like she grew and learned a lot about herself as well as the people around her. I will say, man, this is hard. My favorite series that I read out of this year, I can't believe I'm saying this, but honestly, I feel like it was this one. This was really easy to read, and I was pretty surprised with how this turned out. Even if it was slow, there was a lot of stuff going on that I kind of got frustrated, but not as much as I did with the other characters. Evangeline frustrated me with Broken Heart series. Juliet drove me crazy. The Shatter Me series. This series is actually not bad. And 5 books, and there's a couple of novellas. I actually might pick up one of her friends. There's a novella about her friend who's a vampire. I highly recommend the series. If you're interested, let me know. Comment below if you have read this series or any of the series I have talked about. I am very curious on what other people have read and what they think about the series that I have just mentioned and what you would want to see next. Thank you so much for watching and for clicking on this video. Please comment below. And until next time, bye.